Welcome to the 2-Act Podcast, where we record all things anime, TV, and movies. I am one of your co-hosts, Gothjon, and as always, I am here with Adi, and today we have another special guest. My girlfriend, Maria. Would you like to say anything?
Hi. That's all I'm saying is hi.
Awesome. Okay, so today we're going to do a review on plain death games to put food on the table, or how I'm going to terribly butcher the pronunciation of this, Shiboyugi, as a Netflix anime, and it's very interesting. So I got a little introduction that I wrote. In a world so dystopian, people watch girls fight for their lives. This anime is Saw with cute girls, although they nerf the blood a lot for censorship reasons, because it is a broadcast in this universe. This is the world of Shiboyugi. What if you had to survive multiple death games to not be homeless? Do you think you'd be able to stomach all the heinous and vile things you would need to do to survive? We follow a young girl named Yuki, and we learn everything there is to know to survive in this world. Well, Adi, what are your first impressions for playing death games to put food on the table?
My first impressions, in a nutshell, I liked the first episode, but the rest of the show doesn't work for me. I found it boring at times. That's my first impressions. And they might just end up being my overall impressions. But I'm very curious. I'm very curious to know what you guys think of it. And yeah, I mean, we'll talk about all the details and break the structure and all not whatnot and everything. But overall, I mean, yeah, that's what I thought. What did you guys think?
So mine are hate minimalistic imagery in anime, and this is another show that does it a lot. But although that bothers me a lot, and I feel like it's lazy and it feels like still images and they're not really being animated well, that just always drives me nuts. Doesn't matter what I'm watching. But generally, I really like this one. I recommended it because Maria was watching it one day, and I was like, oh, this seems kind of interesting. And it was like death games, and I've always been, on top of that. I've always loved Saw and Cube and all those type of games. Maria, what are your first impressions of this anime?
Well, again, you saw me watching it, and I've watched it maybe 10 or more times. So I really like it, but it's like I like it because it does give off the Saw vibe, and it's just like I like the Saw movies way too much. But it's just interesting that it's always all girls in all the games. So I was just kind of like, being a female myself, I'm like in that situation, and I'm just like, I would not have guts to kill someone. I'm like, give me a puzzle, sure, but I have to not kill myself. No, I have to kill someone to frickin' survive the game. It's like, yeah, it's just kind of like, nope, cannot do it. But yeah, overall, I did like it a lot. But I kind of agree with Adi, though, too, because there is parts where it gets slow and boring, and you're like, okay, I'm going to pull out my phone now.
Yeah, when we watched the movie, that was my whole struggle.
Yeah, that I agree.
Which I'm also very curious to know more about as we dive deep into.
Yep, we'll cover that at a later time in the episode. So we have a couple different characters. There's a bajillion characters that I'm not going to cover because there's different characters in every death game. But we have the main character, Yuki. She's a 17-year-old girl that becomes a veteran, quote-unquote, player. She's very pragmatic and then shows her strong ability in the death games. She has a good attention for detail. And in some of the episodes, you see her with 2 different color eyes, which we didn't really notice why until a later episode.
Yeah, it took me watching this 3 times, and I'm like, oh, her eye's not that color right now. Got it. Yeah, that was interesting.
Yeah, I had to point it out to you.
Yes, you did.
And we also have her mentor, Hakushi. She's on her 96th game during Candle Woods. And she's got long legs and, she's very bodacious. She's definitely somebody Yuki looks up to. And And then we also have a couple other random characters. Like one that really struck out with me was however you say this, Kyra.
It's Kiara.
Kiara, thank you.
Yeah.
She's a serial killer that kills a ton of girls in Candlewoods. And during this whole anime, they are referring to Candlewoods, and then you realize, okay, well, that happened a while ago, and then you finally get to that episode, and you understand why it was such a big deal.
Candlewoods is the interesting and takes up most of the episodes, which is otherwise, all the other episodes are either one episode that fills up the whole game or two. So that's I'm like, Candlewood, I think, took up 3 or 4 episodes.
Yeah, and it's an 11-episode anime, which it's kind of wild. Like the first 3 episodes are her 28th game, Ghost House, where you get introduced to this girl with pink hair that I just want her to die because she's just whiny and annoying.
I agree. I agree fully.
I mean, I'm not gonna lie. There are a lot of characters that I found annoying in the show for different reasons. I think the first episode for me was probably the best part about the show because it had a lot of mystery. It had the setting, and it got me really interested to know what's going on because these group of girls, they just wake up, they're dressed up as maids, and then they realize that they're playing a death game and they have to survive all these. It's almost like an escape room situation, isn't it?
Yeah. It has a really good hook.
It has a really good hook. It has the mystery. And I found it quite interesting visually. The show does not look cheap. Like you could tell they did do a lot with the visuals to make it look really contemporary. I'm not a fan of some artistic choices, such as the use of still frames for more than 30 seconds. Well, nothing's happening. I don't like another thing the show does stylistically is they obscure the faces of the characters when they're talking, when they're in a scene together. And I just think that just does not work for me personally, because to not be able to see the character's face, like it can work sometimes to derive a certain effect if you're, I don't know, building up suspense or whatever. But the show does this quite frequently throughout, and it really put me off. But I guess, I was so excited for that first episode, and I probably will have more to say about the first episode than the rest of the show, because that's just how my viewing experience was. The thing that really put me off, and it didn't work for me again, was the choice to remove the blood in the show and replace it with pillow fluff.
But they have a universal reason for that.
Maybe, but that did not work for me in this whole concept of a death game. Like, I want to see, I'm building up to the tension, the stakes are there. You can tell, it's not going to end well. But then when you see
a mistake to show you Battle Royale, because now everything else I show you after Battle Royale, you're comparing it to. You're just it's so good.
It's not just Battle Royale. It's like, you look at other shows, Squid Games, any death game. I can't think of any other death game that's been made into a film or TV that doesn't have blood. Like, for me, I'm sorry, but that just doesn't, it's just not believable for me, Like, I just couldn't take it seriously when that happened.
Netflix on top of that, where they can get away with that.
Exactly. Like, come on, we reviewed Blue Eye Samurai, which you thought was really grotesque.
Alrighty, Maria, let's hear it. Let's hear it.
Freaking soft porn. That is what it is.
So that's what got me confused about this show, is like, why the hell did they not just show regular blood?
I think that was because it's an adaptation to the light novel, and that's what they did in the light novel. I think it was more like a stylistic choice, and it also scoots past the censors if it was on primetime Japanese television, because they have, when it comes to like nudity, it's, the top half's fine, but the blood, sometimes if it's too much, they do have to censor it quite a bit.
Yeah, but then I think you've chosen the wrong theme by having it a death game. If you're not
Right.
going to be able to show the deaths
death.
in the a lot of let's face it, a lot of the deaths in the show happen off screen, and a lot of the games don't really even get to be seen. You don't even really get to see a lot of the games in a lot of these other games that occur. I think the first episode does really well to set up a world where, okay, there's a dystopian future where people are forced to play death games for whatever generic reason. There's some that are doing it because they're in debt. There's some that are doing it because they want to earn money and get a better life. And then you've got the main protagonist who's doing it because she wants to win 99 games, which is apparently the record. I've found her motivations to be questionable as
but
as a
she's
main
doing it
protagonist.
because of her mentor. Her mentor wanted to clear the 99 games, and then later on you find something else about the mentor, and it's just kind of like, okay, well, this kind of makes sense why now Yuki wants to do the 99 games instead of just playing them to, as the title says, put food on the table.
Yeah, what is about the title? I didn't understand that.
It's probably one of those long, light novel titles. Like, I'm a spider, so what? That type of thing. Right. Or it's just like a catchy thing that will make you grab it off the shelf. I think that's why I think it's so long.
But then the other thing too about going back to the first episode is just kind of like, it's interesting how Yuki ends up pointing out, hey, they won't poison the food or anything. And then it's like, in other episodes, like, well, why don't they have food in this one? And you're just kind of like, okay, so this one's a timed one. And that's why they're not giving them food to survive. So it's like, it's interesting that they actually they're playing a game, but they still have to like do the normal human things, is eat and drink and stuff to survive. So it's just, that's interesting as well. Hi, squeakers. I'm stuck with cats, guys. Sorry.
And then the fourth episode starts the next game, which is Yuki's 10th game. It's called Scrap Building. It got a really cool shot walking in the red light. I really like that.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if you guys are aware, but I read that they didn't adapt the light novel faithfully when it came to the anime.
Right, because like the numbers that flash throughout the whole series, basically, that's referencing, oh my god, I can't talk, certain spots in the light novel. So that's what when you watch it, that's what the numbers mean, that kind of flash where it goes like 1 out of 32, 2 out of whatever. Yeah, that's referencing like the chapters of the light novel that the specific scene is indicating, if that makes sense.
Yep.
Right. Yeah, no, I got that. It's just that I think the show skips the 9th game and jumps directly to the 10th. And in doing so, there's quite a bit of confusion because there's certain information about Yuki that the audience does not have, which is actually integral backstory the writers of the show decided not to show. So it ended up making it a bit more confusing. That's what I read afterwards when I digged into how they adapted the story into the light novels into the anime. And it got me wondering why the show tries a lot to obscure the details and make it more atmospheric. And there's elements that I like about that because I'm all about atmospheric stuff. I like atmospheric horror and mystery. But in this one, there were a lot of moments where I was just confused. But I don't know if you guys felt that way.
Yeah, the first time watching it, yes, I completely agree. I'm like, okay, I am confused on what happened, what I'm missing. But then, like, the more I rewatched it, I'm just like, okay, I'm picking out things I missed the first few times watching it. So yeah, I was just kind of like, I get what you're saying, Adi.
Kind of like filling in the blank spaces that they leave you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I did not care for the Uncanny Valley puppet in those episodes.
Oh my god, that freaking creeped me out.
Yeah.
Like,
Didn't care.
why?
Yeah.
Everything else
That
is
was
drawn.
genuinely scary, but that's just because I don't like dolls.
As you make fun of my dolls that I have downstairs.
They're gonna kill me in my sleep.
They are my precious ball.
Odd, if you don't hear me for like a year, that's what happened.
You sure I didn't just kill you?
No, it was the dolls.
Okay,
you
it's
could
the dolls.
never,
The dolls.
you could never harm me.
Nah, you're right.
Oh yeah, I forgot. John has a fear of puppets and dolls, doesn't he?
Yep, just the way
Yes.
you don't like snakes, I don't like dolls. They creep me
All
out.
because of Chucky. That's all I'm gonna say. All because of
We will
Chucky.
never review Child's Play ever.
You'll never get to watch a Chucky movie.
No.
I
No,
haven't
never.
bothered watching that movie since I flipped through the channels as a
No,
kid, and then I
it
was
fucked
like,
me up
nope.
as a kid. I was like, nope. And then my little brother terrorized me, and it was great. So after derailing, so we have the third game is Golden Bath, and I think that's the closest you're going to get to, the sexy swimsuit episode.
Well, the movie's the sexy swimsuit episode, though.
That's literally all it is.
This one's just, hey, we're either in a robe or a bath towel.
Yep. And Yuki's obsessed with the Curse of 30 because this is her 30th game. And most veterans, they're just like too relaxed and they make mistakes and they end up dying. So that's why I like this whole thing. She's like, she's like tweaking out.
Backtrack for a second, though, because it's just like for the scrap building and then Golden Baths, you do. Yuki ends up getting a rival in a way, and you see that rival in both the scrap building and the Golden Bath one, and it's interesting because she doesn't know how to feel about this rival. And
is
the
that,
rival,
Mishiro?
Mishiro.
Mishiro, right? Mishari.
Yep.
I don't know her name. The blonde. Right.
Well, there's a lot of blondes in this, Adi.
Yeah.
Tell me about it.
Half the girls are blonde.
Yeah, it's like there's a lot of blondes in this. You can't say the blonde. If you got the blonde with the purple bow, then it's like, yes, okay. Now we know who you're talking about.
Yeah, I had to physically type character names into Google to refresh who I was not thinking about. Because I did, in my notes, I wrote like the blonde, and then I wrote the purple hair or something, and then the pink hair. I'm like, I don't remember their names.
And then he sends it to me, and I'm like, you gotta be more descriptive than this. And I read all the typos.
Hey, nobody usually sees my notes other than me.
I get a special. I'm special. Yay. Yeah. But then also it's like with Mishiro too, it's just kind of like you realize she likes to have the leader role too in both of the episodes, and you're just like, hey, so all the other chicks that are under her tend to follow her and do what she says. And then you have Yuki who's like, nope, I'm doing what the hell ever I want. Just so I know, I know I can survive the game. And that kind of pisses Mishiro off, and that's why she becomes Yuki's rival in a way.
Yeah, I found it fascinating because it's like, how do you make a psychopath feel inferior or feel jealous? And the answer is you can't. They don't have emotions. Yuki is a psychopath, and the power play dynamic between her and Mishiro is interesting because I think the episode before episode 5, episode 4, I believe, is when they play like a new game, and then that's when she's like trying to like establish herself as like the leader of the group, and it turns out like it ends up in a way where Yuki gets separated from the rest of the group, and then they end up confused. It might be episode 3 or 4, but it's one of those episodes.
The escape room type game where you have to escape and there's like pitfalls
Yeah, it's
and
Ghost House
Yeah.
where she ended up taking on
There's
the
a
leader role.
wolf. There's a wolf, and then there's like they have to vote themselves out. Is that
That's the
the
scrap. That's
episode?
the scrap building one.
yep,
So
that's
Right.
the voting at the end.
yep.
Yeah. No, I thought it was interesting because they clearly tried to set up Mishiro as
A villain.
a antagonist for Yuki, but it was kind of short lived, wasn't it?
Hmm.
Because in the next episode, I think the bath episode is where it sort of escalates.
Yeah.
But what's fascinating about this is like, I mean, to me, the character motivations matter, and she sure as hell ain't doing it for the money. So it got me wondering, like, some characters are like that, but her in particular, she's kind of more, I don't know, she's doing it for self gratification.
Well, yeah, it's like you
Or
find like the more you watch it and all that stuff, you find out, okay, so this character's doing it because they like actually killing people. This person's just doing it because this person was forced to do it. It's just kind of like the more you watch it, the more it's like, this is why these people are playing the games. Makes understandable.
And then, so Adi, we wrote down a question. Just like, what would you do for your wish? This will be, if you had a ton of debt, would you be willing to play a death game?
I don't know, I'd need to know more about it though.
Okay. Okay.
But
Well,
that's
let's
just
say,
it. You don't know what death
Like
you're going into.
I need to know more about the rules. I need to
all
know
right,
more about the
you're dropped
conditions.
in the universe of this, and you have to. You don't know what you're going to wake up in, but it's your only way of surviving.
That's easy. I don't even have real blood. Why wouldn't I survive?
Right.
And remember, your limbs get cut
I'm
off as long as
I'm literally Woody from Toy Story. Doesn't matter. I can get
Doesn't
soon back.
matter.
yeah, but then also like the cool part is though too, guys. It's like, hey, you have to lob your arm off. It's like, okay, well they can just reattach it. As long as your body part doesn't get destroyed, it's just like, and you don't get
Yeah,
killed. It's like, hey, we can reattach this and you're fine.
which is why the stakes aren't that high, right? For a death game. If you
Well,
can do that.
they don't survive. Like most of them die. It's still a death game.
The one thing that kind of peeved me off though is just like where they threw subtle hints. It's like, hey, the watchers normally like cute girls with long hair. They normally like the cute. It's like they always reference, hey, the ones who are more cuter make the more money. So it's just kind of like, so everyone who survives get paid, not just the top ranking person. It's just kind of, I wish they would have went more into how that worked, if that makes sense.
Yeah, for me, I think it's more interesting that, like you mentioned, most of the participants are girls, and that
They're
it
all
did get me.
girls.
Yeah, they're all girls. There's no guys.
Right, they're all girls. I don't know, maybe they're dolls, since they don't have real blood. But it got me wondering. It got me wondering, why are they all girls? And it got me wondering that, perhaps it's got some interesting things to say about the world it's set in, where this is a dystopian world, clearly, where people get like satisfaction out of watching
Yep.
attractive girls play and kill each other,
It's in a way like
and play
Hunger
death
Games.
games.
It's like Hunger Games, just with all females.
Yeah, exactly. It's the same thing. So it's got some interesting things that pose more questions for me about the. I had questions about how the games are, who's the organization behind the games.
Yep.
I think there's one part of the story where I think the father of one of the girls who dies tries to
Yep,
like
the father
recruit
of Kinko.
Yuki. Kinko,
Yep,
right? And
yep.
Kinko, I thought first show this soulless and mundane. I thought the Kinko arc was probably the most like emotionally resonant part of the show, that you could feel for the character, especially the way it sort of affects Yuki for the rest of the show, because she certainly thinks about Kinko a lot and like what happened to Kinko. Spoilers, of course, she
Well-
gets killed. But Yeah.
Well, and then also it's just too, it's like Yuki after every game repeats everyone's name who died. So she remembers all the names from every game. And you're just like, one, that's an amazing memory capacity. And then two, it's just like, well, this is how she's honoring the ones who die because, I mean, well, freaking A-squeakers, sorry. Because, like, in the first one, it's just like when someone dies, someone went to go pray for him, and Yuki was just like, are you going to stop and pray for every character? Or not? Well, yeah, every person. And it's like, you don't have time to stop and show respects for the dead. And that's why it's like, nope, after you are out of the game, you can pay your respects, which is another interesting thing.
Yeah, I mean, it's not like the show doesn't try to make you care for some of the characters. I think personally, I couldn't care much about Yuki. Like, I didn't buy her motivation at all. But there were some interesting other side characters that definitely made me see the human side of the story, like Kinko. And
Yep.
I'm sorry, I don't remember the name of this other character, but there's another character she meets up with in that same the
Oh,
box
is it the bath one?
episode.
It's
Yeah, and then she ends up dying. She
Azuma.
ends up getting killed.
Azuma,
I think that's
the
the
one who's kind of
brunette.
butchy.
Yeah,
Yeah,
was
Azuma.
it her? I don't.
Yep, that
I
sounds right.
think
She wasn't a brunette. She had black hair, and then she was the one who was like, "I'm more masculine."
She's
That
tomboy.
one.
there's one where they both run towards the end of the episode because their camp gets attacked. Do you know?
Yep.
Candlewoods.
No,
Yeah.
no. Are you sure?
Was it? I think it was episode 6 or 5.
No, I
if I'm
think
not
it's the
mistaken.
bath one. I think you're thinking of Azuma.
Yeah,
Azuma. Okay.
She's the leader of the other group. Well, quote unquote leader of the other group who's trying to. Little spoiler: just stay away from Mishiro's group.
Shiro. Right.
Because Mishiro's group seems to have a lot of the stronger characters in that episode.
Yep.
Yes.
Don't worry about spoilers. they're very spoiled. We haven't even spoiled the movie yet.
Yeah, no, we haven't.
Yep.
Which I'm very excited to know more about that.
I was gonna say, well, just going back to the bath episode real quick, it's just like it's interesting also is because you have Mishiro and you all of a sudden see, hey, she's also a mentor and one of her students, it's Riko, is in that same episode with her, and you're just kind of like, okay, so
Riko
the
lost her
people who are still playing the people who are still playing the games also mentor people, unlike Yuki's mentor, who you're just like, well, you only see her mentoring Yuki outside of the games, and you never see her play the game until you see the Candlewoods game. So it's kind of like
happens to be 9th game, and that is the 4th and final game of the series.
That's what's confusing was the timeline put me off.
Yeah, it's all.
I had no idea.
Yeah.
I had no idea. I couldn't consistently pay attention sometimes with the structure of the show.
Well, you almost got to take notes to follow along.
Yeah, and I wonder if they really needed to do that because, like I read, the light novels have a pretty consistent narrative structure, but the show decides to deviate from that and almost do this like cross-cutting thing, which a lot of these contemporary mind-bending films try to do, but I just don't think it worked structurally in the show at times. Like I was confused. But also, we spoke about how it skips one of the games and starts off a game later, and that was really confusing as well to understand certain aspects of Yuki's character. But I was just thinking, out of all the Dead games, which ones did you like the most?
Probably Candlewoods because it's the most eventful.
Yeah, no, I liked the Ghost House one.
Ghost House.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And Adi liked Golden Bath because they had the most skin to show.
Well, it's like Ghost House. I'm like, that'd be the easiest cosplay if you ever wanted to do a cosplay. Like, well,
yeah.
Knowing my body type, I'm like, that'd be the easiest cosplay to do versus, hey, I'm going to wear a bunny suit. I'm not going to look good in a freaking bunny suit.
What are you talking about, darling? I'm sure you'd look great.
Shut up.
Just have to do my boyfriendly duty.
Oh no, we'll see how I look in my Marin cosplay next weekend.
Yep. You look great. So yeah, Candlewoods is hide and go seek where you get killed if you're caught. Bunnies versus stumps. And bunnies
Yeah.
hide and stumps are the killers. In this game, we find out why Yuki has 2 different colored eyes. Later, we discover why. Stumps are all new players who, other than this pigtailed girl who teaches all other stumps how to kill in a most barbaric fashion, where this girl's whining and they're all like, "You gotta stab her," and all that. The stumps are given guns and knives. And eventually, the stumps fuck up and become the hunted.
I was gonna say, do you want to quickly, so the viewers know, explain why Yuki has different colored eyes?
She got stabbed in the eye. And
She got stabbed
like
in
I
the eye.
said, they can replace body parts, so they just gave her an
prosthetic
artificial eye.
eye. Yep.
Right. So my biggest issue with the Candlewoods or the bunnies and the stumps game was there's this side character that gets introduced called Moegi.
Yep.
Green
Am I
hair.
getting that right?
Yep.
Green hair. There's a lot of screen time dedicated to this character. She's clearly built up as the antagonist for the last game that is in the season. And you get a lot of information about her backstory, and they focus a lot on like how her psychology is. She's kind of fucked in the head. She's twisted, and she commands her group to like mercilessly kill and all that stuff. And she's got like another girl who's like her, like almost her, I don't know,
Her
muscle
mentor.
mommy or
Yeah,
whatever.
her mentor. Yeah.
But what really pissed me off about this character is that they just abruptly kill her off. They spend so much time building her up when we don't even get to see the actual bunnies and the hunt and all that, because so much of the game, so much of the runtime in those last 2 episodes are just like focused on Moegi, only for Moegi to get killed abruptly.
Well, it's
Like-
Moegi and Kiara. It's just like I get what you're saying. It's they focus on those two so much, and you're just like, hey, you're only giving us some of the filler and not all of the filler, which makes this even more confusing.
Yeah. I had issues with that, the way they handled that. Because I think I don't know if this is how the light novel is, but
I'll
I
let
feel
you
like,
know when I read
again,
it.
I feel like I don't know why. I don't know why. I feel like the show is not really adapting the light novel faithfully. I mean, we know it's not, but it's like I feel like it's trying to do this thing where, we can be a bit more avant-garde and artsy and do like something more obscure and like change stuff and make it more mysterious, but it actually ends up not helping the story come to life in a way. Like
Well-
it makes the pacing suffers, the structure suffers, and a lot of these side characters who get introduced get
Yep.
just killed off. So
Yep, well-
that is a big issue.
Yeah, I was gonna say like you're to your point. It's like they introduce. I'm gonna say her name wrong. Sumiyaki. I can't remember. I know in Candlewoods, and it's just like all you know is like, okay, I'm on my 30th game. Don't tease me about the wall of 30, which is all the players think is a curse because they get really they get lax and stuff, and kind of maybe
Yep.
slack off a little more because they're like, well, I'm invincible and stuff. And then it's like next thing you know, it's like, oh, you died. Okay, curse is real. Got it. But it's like, why introduce her if you're just going to kill her?
Yeah. It doesn't make sense to do that. Like, I was just left more confused. It's one thing if a show is bad, but it's good if it's bad. It still ends up being entertaining. But when it's just like abrupt and like you feel like it was incomplete, you're left with this sense that, I think that there's more that could have happened here. before this character just gets killed off. That's probably more irritating of an experience to see than something where, oh, that's just so bad. It's actually funny. Like the sense of incompleteness in the story was something that bothered me at various points of the show. But I know you guys have a different perspective on it. Were you guys able to overlook that? Or was it that you guys were so invested in certain aspects of the show that perhaps it didn't affect or it didn't matter as much?
Yeah, I was invested in everything other than the minimalistic. That was my big hang up.
I was being a bit too
The
minimalistic.
Yeah, the minimalistic art style that, like, in a previous episode, that frog movie you made me watch, that
Yeah.
pissed me off
Yeah.
big time. And it's the same in this. It drives me nuts.
Yeah.
It just feels lazy.
Yeah. Yeah, the bit where they obscure the faces, right?
Yeah.
In
Any of that,
the
yeah, where it's so there's a minimalistic art style where you take the character and you take away all their like descriptive like features.
Yeah.
And it's
Characteristic.
just
Yeah.
exactly. So you can't tell who's who, but you can tell who's who just by like color schemes. And a lot of that if they used that once in a while, I wouldn't have been as annoyed by it.
But I was gonna say, as you pointed out to me, I was gonna say, John, as you pointed out to me one of the times when you were complaining about that, that like if you weren't watching it and like say playing on your phone, the voices sound so similar too for a lot of the characters, and so you're just like, wait, who is talking right now? So I was just
True.
like, wait.
I hate to admit this, but I gotta admit it. There's 1 or 2 episodes, right, where I watched the show on a higher speed just because I was convinced. I was convinced these guys intentionally paced it so slow that it would take 30 seconds just for the character to say a line of dialogue. And I was like, I got to test this out for real. I got to check. I'm going to play with the speed, let's go from 1 to 1.5 to 2. And I was shocked because it did, the crazy part about that was it actually was the case. It wasn't, it was really like dragged out. I don't get it. Like what they were thinking, by doing stuff like that. I don't know if that was again part of the minimalism aesthetic that they were going for. That, oh, let's just keep it like really, slow and suspenseful and try to like have this like reflective quality to it. But it ends up becoming a bit too dar and like meandering at times. And that doesn't help when you want to like actually take interest in understanding what's going on. Like that itself is one hurdle. And then you have to deal with like the inconsistencies with the timeline. That doesn't help making it an easy watch. Like I have to admit, like I did struggle to watch this show. It wasn't as easy as, when I look at the concept and I see, oh, death games. And I'm like, this should be entertaining. They should have like some interesting ideas and some crazy games to explore. But I feel like the show kind of like abandons the death game theme and it tries to go more into like some of the characters. But I think it gets it wrong. I think it should have focused more on the games than like try to go on side characters and then kill them off.
We
What do you
finally
guys think?
found an anime that's too artsy fartsy for even Adi.
Well, I mean, like, I agree with Adi and the drawn out thing, and they're most likely trying to do it for suspense and everything. And it's just kind of like, yes, I agree. There's parts there you're just like, okay, just talk, do something already. And I do wish they would have showed more of the other games that Yuki had to play, even though they like hinted at some of them and stuff. And you're just kind of like, hey, I wanted to see this because I'm just like, after honestly the first 2 episodes, it's just like, hey, you got me hooked. And then now we're going at such a slow pace compared to the first 2 episodes. And you're just like, okay, why?
It's the slowest.
And the thing about another thing about the bit of the logic in the last arc is like Kiara just like solos like 200 players simultaneously.
Yep.
Oh, she's
You
got
realize she's really
plot
fucked up
armor.
in the head.
Literally.
literally got plot armor.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, she's a typical yandere. Crazy for the sake of crazy. It's Candlewick is one of the most brutal games because they just drop a serial
Candlewoods.
killer to let loose inside the game. And they make her a bunny just to fuck everything up.
But the question is, too, it's just like the people who are putting the people in the game, it's like, do they know that Moegi was getting mentored by Kiara? Do they know Yuki was getting mentored by Hakashi? And now they're putting them in the same game, and it's just like, well, potentially either they're going to watch each other die, or like Kiara and Moegi, they were put on different teams and may have to kill each other. Even though you find out Kiara is a psycho, but yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I guess it doesn't matter as much in the end because they never end up having to face
Fight
each other. Like,
Yep.
Right.
so like, yeah, I think that
And
bit just doesn't like weigh up dramatically because even though they try to like establish this mentor and protege thing, it just like completely
Fizzled out.
The plot doesn't. Yeah, it doesn't really address that. It chooses to go a different direction instead of like clearly having, I don't know, Moegi as the final boss villain. It kills her off after giving her more of the screen time in those last 2 episodes, and then suddenly making Kiara the final boss as opposed to Moegi, and then you got like Yuki's mentor who gets killed. But then we realize she's not really killed.
I was like, are we going to spoil that part?
Which is,
are we going to spoil
yes.
Which is stupid as fuck, by the way. Stupid as fuck. Didn't care.
It is. Because it's just like you see her and her body is torn apart. Like Yuki touches her
what's
ribs.
even worse, Adi?
Like I said, stupid as fuck.
Yuki thinks she's dead.
Yeah. In the movie, you find out Yuki still thinks her mentor's dead.
Yeah. There's a bar scene where she meets her mentor in the movie after she survives her 44th game. And there's not even a like a normal rationale would be, what the fuck? Why didn't you contact me to tell me that you're still alive?
Well, and she found out her mentor was alive through that 46th game because another one of Hakashi's proteges was playing that game with Yuki.
Yep.
And then she's like, well, I just spoke to her 3 days ago. And Yuki's is like, wait, what? She's not dead?
I mean, it was so like, even for the logic of, we got to be honest here, like even for the logic of, okay, they don't have real blood. They're like, they've got cotton fluff for blood and organs. They just have
altered
skeleton.
bodies. Yeah, they have altered bodies.
They have altered bodies because Yuki shoots Kiara and she doesn't like get affected because she's got like armored plating or whatever.
Yeah.
But like the Hakushi the mentor, she's literally blown apart. Like, like her whole skeletons.
Yep,
pretty much.
Hakushi's rib cage is on display.
And it crumbles when Yuki touches it.
Yeah, so how the fuck are you still alive?
Well, then Kiara even makes the comment, well, go look at her organs. Her organs look weird. So you're just like, okay, Hakushi's body's just all altered because it's like you have to figure she's been through 90-some games. So it's like, how much damage did her body take in each game? Because like you see Yuki and some,
they're all just like Frankenstein dolls at this point.
Pretty much. Just think of them as a ball jointed doll. Yeah,
but still, even for that logic, it didn't make sense that she's alive in the end. And it was even more irritating that the people of the games, the organizers, are the ones who come up and be like, "Oh yeah, you could stop pretending now."
Yeah. Well, but then the other about that Candlewoods one is just like, okay, I got irritated where they started rolling the credits, and then it's like, oh wait, the episode's still going. And then it does that whole Yuki remembering everyone who died in like this kind of off woodsy plain thing. And then that's how she finds like, oh, this is why I'm playing these games. Because Hakashi asks her, well, why are you playing the games? And it's just like, freaking it. Yeah, it gets interesting.
So what did you guys think of that final fight, though?
I thought it was cool.
Well,
It was even though like once you find out that Kiara's basically invulnerable, that puts some extra stakes on it just because you're just like, how the fuck is Yuki gonna win?
Well, it's like you're like, okay, she has metal armor under her skin, but it's like, hey, what vulnerable points are still that you couldn't possibly armor?
And it was her eyeballs.
Yep, and you're just like, could you make that shot even if you're really good for someone running at you? It's like,
No.
could you do it? I'm like, I couldn't.
Yeah, like she shot Kiara many times before,
Yeah.
but it didn't work
It just
until
leaves little nicks.
Yeah. But even the whole thing about, you know how she finds the gun in the bear, the stuffed
The
bear,
raccoon dog? Yeah, the raccoon. Yeah, because, well, she
the
says,
raccoon
well,
dog.
well,
Yeah.
Hakashi put it in there for her, and you're just like, well, when the hell did Hakashi get a gun?
Exactly.
Because only the Stumps had the guns. So you're like, when did she get a gun? I'm so confused.
Yeah. And how did she know that she would put a gun in there for her to use?
Yes, exactly. That part I was just like, how? Because it's like you saw at the beginning that they tore that doll apart, and then it's just like, what made you assume she'd put a gun in there for you? Yeah, I get what you're saying, Adi.
Yeah. So if you didn't like some parts of the show, this pacing, the movie, oh
Yeah,
my
you're
God,
gonna hate the movie.
you're gonna hate the movie.
Okay, tell me
like,
about the movie.
So the movie has a 90-minute runtime. It's an hour and a half, and the pacing in the movie is so slow that when we're reviewing stuff for the pod, I try not to touch my phone because then I'm gonna miss stuff. I'm gonna have to replay something. Like for instance, when I was watching that British comedy movie we reviewed a long time ago, I had problems following it because it's playing on my phone and I'm not used to that dialect. So I put subtitles on, put my phone away, and gave it my full attention. This movie, you'll lose half the movie if you're playing on your phone. Unless you've seen it a couple of times.
Well, even for me watching it twice, I was just like, okay.
It's really hard to follow. The general premise is it's called Cloudy Beach, and it's her 44th game, and they're all there. And then I think there's like a girl or two that Yuki knows from a previous game.
Yeah.
They're all veterans. It's the veteran game. And
you're considered a veteran after, I think, 30 after 30 games. Because there was one girl that was there for her 10th game.
Right.
So I'm like, I think there was one who was there
like
I think
40 something game too. Yeah.
Well, one was there for 50 something too.
Yep.
So
well, do you guys want to take this opportunity and, since you both have watched it, also quickly like review the film in like a few sentences?
Besides saying it's a very, very slow paced movie.
Yeah.
It's more of the same.
More of the same. All right. Got it.
Yeah.
I mean, but it's just like, yeah, it's very slow paced, and then you're introduced to a whole bunch of new characters like you are with every episode, and you're like, now I gotta try to keep everything straight.
And
but
if you watch it,
I was gonna say, this is, as John would call it, the sexy swimsuit one.
It's a sexy swimsuit episode.
Because everyone is in a swimsuit or something of the sorts.
It's a fan service episode.
Yes.
The oldest trick in the book.
Yep. And it's a sequel movie that's canon.
Well, okay, I'm jumping ahead now. Like, and then towards the end of the movie, you have to get through the credits and all that stuff, and then it does where, hey, Yuki gets a phone call, and you're like, while you were in this game, there was another veteran game going on, and 80 people were in it and only 3 came out. So you're like, well, how this ended, they're going to probably make another movie or episode or season or something.
Yeah, they're going to continue
Because
it.
you're just like,
the
well,
light
now I'm
novel's
curious. Yes.
still
I'm like,
going, so
yes.
I wouldn't be surprised.
So
Yeah,
based on some of the stuff I read online, a lot of people prefer the novel over the anime and are recommending reading the novel because unlike the anime, the novel doesn't skip certain fights,
Right.
games,
Yep.
and is a lot more like it gets. Apparently, it's really good. That's
We'll
what
see if
everyone's.
hint to John. We'll see if he gets me the first light novel for my birthday. Hint. Along
Well,
with my
John,
pop.
it's time to do your boyfriend duty and
I don't know if he'll get here in a month.
please the missus.
Dude, we're already in my birthday month, you dork.
I don't think we'll get it in time. I think
If you
it's got
order
to
it through
ship.
Amazon, yes, you will.
They got
Freaking
to
A,
print.
dude.
They got to print it in China.
I'm gonna hit you after this. I'm gonna come down there and hit you with a pillow.
Yeah. The trivia that I was gonna do, we already covered, and the quotes we already covered. So, do you have anything else either
Well, I was
you
gonna
would
say,
like to say?
like, but with that movie again too, it's just like on how some of the characters, one of the characters completely disappears, and you're like, is it? I can't remember. Is it Mizuku or Mitsu? No, I don't think it's. Anyways, one of them.
Mitsubishi?
Yeah, I don't know. It's not like the car, you dork. But anyways, she's a muscular chick, and then all of a sudden it's like you don't see her anymore, and you're like, well, what the fuck happened to her?
She
like,
fell
where'd
into the pit.
And then like when you get, because you get the killer's point of view at some point in the movie too, and you're just like, all you see is a flashback of the stupid minimalistic thing, as John does not like, of spike pit and a body in it, and then you're gonna assume a cloaked figure standing by it, and you're just like, and that's when they go saying the words, well, what happened to so and so, and you're like, oh, that makes sense now. But they don't explain it until like farther into the movie. So it's like,
Yeah, look, I mean, I'm a lot less against the minimalism, like John. Like I understand John's point of view, but for me, like I don't really have problems with stuff that's minimalistic. It's just when it gets confusing, when it gets even more dragged out, and then on top of that, you have this minimalism thing going on, then it gets really difficult to engage with what's happening.
yep.
So the show does not do itself any favors. And I still feel that it's almost like the director thought he could do one better and make the show even more like, I don't know, radical by trying to like adapt it like it's some sort of a, it's some avant-garde type of film from Europe or something. When in reality, just like adapt the source material, bro. Just stick with what works. And, like it might just be better because you have the source material to work with. Don't try to like unnecessarily muddle the whole thing up and make it like, I know there's some people who enjoy watching stuff like this. And don't get me wrong, I've read a lot of mixed reviews. I saw both sides. I saw some who really enjoyed it and I saw some who really hated it. I think this is like one of those Marmite movies. You either, you either hate it or you love it. There's really no in between when it comes to a show or a movie like this. But
Right.
yeah,
Are we ready to roll into final thoughts?
Yep.
sure.
All right, Adi, I'll let
You
you
want me
go
to go?
first. Yeah, you do your deal.
Yeah,
Your thing.
yeah, I'll go first. I'm certainly not as hot on this show as you both, but it was fascinating to hear about the stuff that you guys liked. Personally, I just feel like the first episode worked for me despite the flaws. And I just wish that it kind of like built from that, but instead it kind of deviates from the promise or the potential of the first episode. And it gets like really muddled. I found it difficult to engage with the pacing. I found the decisions and the choices to have some side characters occupy a lot of screen time only for them to abruptly be killed off questionable. I felt like Yuki was very complex character with potential, but I don't think the show does get it right with her. I feel like it doesn't really nail her character to the extent where we understand her that deeply. I think there's fundamental issues with the characters in this show, which I cannot understand why the show decides to adapt it this way. Clearly, upon researching and realizing that the show skips certain arcs from the light novels, it only explains why it gets even more confusing to follow sometimes what happens with these characters, and especially with Yuki. There's a lot of pacing issues. I hate to criticize pacing because I think it's such a cheap and lazy way to criticize something and say that the pacing is slow or whatever. But in this case, it was really dragged out and slow. And there's some stylistic choices that I didn't like that I've already mentioned. And, my biggest gripe still remains the death game without the blood. I just don't think it works. Like, if you're going to be that violent and you're going to be that, like, cynical and nihilistic with the themes, because it's not a very optimistic show, it's a very dark show, why would you just remove the blood? Why would you remove it from the realism that could make it even more darker and, could actually make the stakes feel high? Instead, it's hard to engage when, the character's dead and you see the insides being replaced by cotton fluff, and then they magically survive. Like, it just didn't land for me. I also had a problem with the games. I wish the show focused more on the games, less on unnecessary side quests with the characters and backstories that didn't land. It would have been more fun to see the backstories instead of like focusing entirely on the past. Focus it more with the games. A lot of the deaths happen off screen, and there's just some like the ending. I didn't like the ending. I thought it was abrupt and it was like whatever, like came out of nowhere. And like I said, they focus too much on a side character that gets killed off by giving her a majority of the screen time and then focusing it on a different character as the final fight. It's a long rant. I apologize. But I'm just being honest with the way I feel about the show. I'm going to give it a 3 out of 10.
Holy shit.
I had a feeling his was going to be low.
That might be the lowest thing you've ever rated.
Yeah.
I got to be more mean to things you show me. All right. So I'll go next. Shiboyugi, or playing death games to put food on the table, is a stylish ride. I dislike the minimalistic art style. It really pisses me off. But if that's my only detractor, I thought this was a really good show. I wish every frame had more detail when the minimalistic shit shows up. The soundtrack I really liked. I liked, that very like fairy sound that would come on like end of half the episodes. I really liked the sound effects. The dub was great as well. I didn't have any issues with that. I can't wait to watch more of this show. I'm sure my beloved, she will be watching it. I'll give this one an 8 out of 10.
That surprises me, honestly. Okay. Okay, I guess my turn. Overall, I really liked it. Unlike Adi, I thought the cotton fluff was kind of cool because in the movie, they do something very interesting with the cotton fluff. And it's just, I thought that part was fun. But again, I agree with Adi, though, on the pacing, though. The pacing, yeah, it drove me nuts. I was like, hey, I'm going to play on my phone now. But overall, it's just like, again, I really liked the movie. I agree with John, too, as well. The soundtrack's good. And then, like, in the movie, one of the characters sing and you're like, ooh, can I get this song on my Spotify playlist? Because it's very relaxing and can put me to sleep. But overall, for me, like, score-wise, I'm actually lower than John. I give it a 7 out of 10.
That's fair.
Yeah, I'm just like, the pacing is what kind of As much as I like it, it's the pacing that made me bump my score down.
All right. On that
That's
note,
fair.
378. We were all over the place. Like you said,
what's the average? What's the average score of that?
Probably like 6.5, but we don't do halves, so it's gonna be closer to 7.
You guys have.
Right.
We're never doing halves. We let a guest do a half one time. It was the worst. No, I'm just kidding. No, she was great.
No, it was fine.
Yeah, it was fine. And on that note,
No, don't bite me.
introducing my cats.
Squeakers. Freaking squeakers. Ow.
Yeah, Squeaker's the cat.
She
Good thing
likes
this
to bite,
isn't
Mom.
a video podcast, otherwise you'd see cats everywhere. All right.
Yes.
On that note, I'm gonna go play a death game and put some food on the table. See ya, Space Cowboy.